Hi, my name is Seth Zider, and for my lightning presentation, I wanted to focus on my work one, learning management systems as a support for English language learners. I wanted to focus on this because at my school, I am the English language support teacher for the entire school, but we are also soon implementing an LMS called It's Learning for our classes. This got me wondering about how it might be modified to be used as ubiquitous support for students who need to improve their English, which, given our situation, is basically our entire school. I felt that this was a pretty specific use case, so I didn't look for any studies that did this exact thing, but I did look for studies about using LMSs to support English learning. In fact, there's a lot out there for this subject, but a lot of it is done by foreign universities that don't do a lot of polishing for publication in English, so I had to exclude a lot of it simply because I couldn't understand what was being said, or because there's just way too many charts that didn't seem relevant to what they were discussing. However, the research I did find and could use generally focused on three aspects of implementing LMSs. These are learning autonomy, innovative uses of LMSs, and LMS effectiveness for academic or educational outcomes. So with learner autonomy, that's just the idea of, can students do this on their own? Are they getting used to doing learning on their own? Can they do learning on their own? This kind of stuff. The innovative uses of LMSs were Learning Muse, which was a system that, based on the readings that was given, could automatically generate prompts and questions, which was really interesting. Another interesting application was a game-based learning approach with a flipped classroom for business English, and used an RPG to kind of teach business concepts through English and Chinese, and flipped classroom in Korea, which I don't think we would generally consider this to be an innovative practice since it's still basically didacticism, but it's novel in the context of like an Asian educational culture because they're still focused on like sage on the stage kind of lecture culture, and the outcomes are an important trend in the research because it's just educators want to know, does this work, and if it, especially with technology, a lot of educators tend to be very skeptical. So doing research and finding that it is in fact useful and can be used, then it's more likely to be adopted. A big advantage that many of the studies pointed out was that it integrated support for multimodality pretty naturally. Otherwise, in other words, it can use a lot of different kinds of media. Traditional classrooms can do this, but it's difficult because there's normally just one screen for many students and one teacher. So if you can use an LMS and get a computer to every student, then they can kind of navigate that kind of intuitively based on what their needs are and what they want. And this kind of ties into ideas of student affect, which is the idea of like feelings towards something or attitudes, motivations towards something. And generally, the research found that these attitudes toward the LMSs were generally positive, increasing self-directed learning and motivation, which could possibly lead to higher engagement and better learning outcomes. So, in conclusion, I think LMSs, as I discussed when introducing the video in this work, could focus on applications outside the classroom, such as in my own interest in using it as a ubiquitous support, but there is already a lot of support for using LMSs in a variety of contexts in the classroom. And again, I think there is a lot of potential in using LMSs in novel ways that still support learning while making it engaging and enjoyable. Again, we find this kind of stuff in traditional classroom contexts, so it doesn't seem like that much of a leap that we could do it outside the classroom in a way that's still engaging and still promotes learning, but is also just accessible at all times for all students, so they can learn at their own pace whenever they want. Thanks for your time.